How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Karl Malone remains one of the best NBA players of all time, not talked about very often, but his longevity, consistency, honestly, second to none. Malone in 18 seasons with the Utah Jazz averaged over 25 and 10 in Salt Lake City, continues to show up year after year after year in the 90s. Karl Malone made first team All-NBA every single one of those years in that decade. Despite all the hate he gets on social media, his accomplishments and milestones cannot be ignored in NBA history. Some of his records and consistency, all the 82, 81 games he's played year after year, I mean, there might never be another player like him that's always prepared and conditions himself to put up the same numbers, similar stats, playing at a superstar level for literally a decade and a half span. Still regarded by many as the second greatest power forward all time. Today, we'll take a deep dive into Karl Malone's NBA career to see how great he really was. The Louisiana native played college ball at Louisiana Tech, averaged 18.7 points, over 9 boards in 3 seasons in college, drafted 13th overall by the Utah Jazz in the 85 class. The most hyped college stars were Georgetown's #1 pick Patrick Ewing, 7th pick St. John's Chris Mullin, and 18th pick Joe Dumars. Malone, one of 10 All-Stars, the best in his draft when it was all said and done, played the longest alongside Charles Oakley, so confident Dallas was gonna pick him at 8, visited many times. The franchise, however, selected Deathless Shrimp, who was traded midway through his 4th season, expected to just be a solid player. Nobody could have imagined Malone to become one of the best and a superstar. Averaged 15 and 9 from the get-go, the starting power forward under head coach Frank Layden. Stockton drafted the year before. Utah made the postseason as the 5th seed with a 42 and 40 record. Best player at the time, high scorer Adrian Dantley. Big Mar Eaton, who passed away earlier in May of this year, the starting center his 4th season. Thurl Bailey, Bob Hansen, Ricky Green, and Stockton lost to Dallas 3-1 in the first round. Dantley had back spasms, didn't play. Malone made a name for himself, averaged 22 points on 53% shooting his first postseason series, became the face of the team. While Dantley was traded after the season for Ken Benson and Kelly Tributa, slowed the team's process in competing with the better teams. Stockton came off the bench in 87. Malone, a 21 and 10 guy, officially became an All-Star by his 3rd season, averaged almost 28 points, 12 boards, 52% shooting, a steal and a half. His breakout year alongside Stockton, the full-time starter, averaged 15 points, nearly 14 assists, 3 steals. Malone earned 2nd team All-NBA honors and defensive 2nd team as well, officially became a top 10 player in the league ahead of his time, conditioning and putting in the work in the weight room. No other forward could run the brick back in the day as well as Karl, as well as mastering the most efficient play in basketball, the pick and roll. Thurl Bailey, the other main option, at 6'11", averaged over 19 a game, played the 3. Malone netted in 31.5 points, 12 boards in his first playoff series win over Clyde Drexler's Blazers, took the defending champion Lakers to 7 games, a team with Prime Magic, Prime Worthy, Byron Scott, Jabbar, amongst many others. A more competitive series than giving credit for. Malone balled out, averaged almost 29 points, 12 rebounds. Bailey over 20 a game. Stockton 19, over 16 assists, 4 steals for the series. Gave Magic a run for his money. Eaton held Jabbar to 39% shooting. Kareem averaged under 13 and 7. Utah had the size, physicality. Malone helped put the Jazz on top up late game 5 before Michael Cooper drained the go-ahead game winner. Karl kept his team alive with 27 and 11 in game 6, forcing a game 7. Young Karl, extremely explosive, got up and blew past his defenders, unstoppable in transition. Combined with the turnaround jump shot, near perfection is added. To his credit, Malone balled out 31 and 15 on 14 of 21 shooting in game 7. Stockton 29 points, 20 assists, 5 steals. Karl being 24 years old, him and Charles Barkley the same age, already 2 of the best at their positions. It was clear Malone was going to dominate for many years to come. Consistent night in and night out, Mr. Reliable, dependable. Every night, the 250 plus pound power forward gave his team anywhere between 18 to 32 points a game. A terror on D and one of the best passing power forwards. A complete all-around game, the first of 11 straight seasons of averaging over 25 points a game, yet never won the scoring title. Became the runner-up 4 times because of MJ. Jerry Sloan took over after Layden stepped down as head coach. Malone then averaged 29 points, 11 boards, almost 2 steals in 89, earned All-Star Game MVP, led Utah 51 wins, finished 3rd for MVP voting behind Magic and Michael, became a top 5 player arguably by then, while Stockton averaged 17 points, 13.5 dimes, but fell to the the hands of Don Nelson's Warriors, led by Chris Mullin and Mitt Richmond. 7-7 Manute had the best of the 7-4 Eaton. Karl averaged 31 and 16. Stockton over 27 and 13 dimes in the 3-game sweep in the hands of the Dubs. Malone's 5th season, his highest scoring year, averaged 31 points, 11 rebounds, his best shooting season as well, over 56%. Stockton averaged 14 and a half dimes, over 17 points. Bailey, 28 years old, 33-year-old Eaton started to slow down. Big Karl carried the scoring load every night, finished 4th for MVP, led Utah to a then franchise best 55 wins, 2 consecutive first teams. 90s basketball began to slow down with the scoring and more defensive focus. Remarkably, this was the only season in the 90s era where somebody not named Michael Jordan averaged over 30 points for an entire season. Karl also netted in a career-high 61 points against the Bucks January 27 on 26 shot attempts, being the 4th seed, eliminated in the first round yet again in the best-of-5 series to the well-balanced Phoenix Suns of Tom Chambers, Kevin Johnson, Jeff Hornacek, and Dan Marley. Malone averaged 25 and 10, just 44% shooting, below his standards, much like the modern era of Damian Lillard of the Blazers and James Harden's time with the Rockets. The Jazz known for winning plenty of regular season games, but because they're in a small market and nobody realistically wanted to move to Utah, it was hard to attract good players. While the offense revolved mainly around Stockton and Malone with Sloan and his system, every year the game plan became predictable for other good teams in the postseason. Knowing their simple plays, the bench also wasn't deep. After Malone tied Game 5 with a jumper on Phoenix, Kevin Johnson nailed the go-ahead game winner to close out the series 3-2. 1991, 54 wins. Team traded for solid scorer Jeff Malone from the Washington Bullets, averaged over 18.5 points for the Jazz. Karl continued his excellence, averaged 29 points, 12 rebounds, 53% shooting. Stockton again 17 points, 14 assists. Malone, a guy who always held up in the regular season, 5th for MVP, knocked off Phoenix in round 1 before falling short to Drexler's 63-win Blazers in 5 games. Malone's 30 and 15 averages weren't enough. The 92 season, 55 wins, 4th for MVP, a consistent 28 and 11, advanced to the conference finals after similar averages of nearly 30 and 11 first 2 rounds. As the 2 seed bumped into the contending Blazers, more weapons with Clyde, Porter, Kersey, Duckworth, and Ainge. Malone averaged 28 and 12, 55% shooting. Stockton shot under 40%, outplayed by the more physical Porter 2 years in a row. Stockton just couldn't match up with the quick physical point guards. Other guys like Kevin Johnson also got the best of him. In 93, Malone and Stockton share All-Star Game MVP, averaged 27 and 11. Outside of Stock and Jeff, Utah didn't have enough offensive weapons. Bailey traded early 92 season, a first-round loss to the young athletic Sonics. In 94, 53 wins, the league wide open without Jordan. The 30-year-old put up over 25, 11.5 boards, 4 dimes, a block, and a steal and a half. Improved after trading the 32-year-old Jeff Malone for the 30-year-old Hornacek, advanced to the conference finals, only to fall to Hakeem's Rockets in 5 games. The league's MVP and best player, Malone's averages of 26, 12.5 boards, over 5 assists, 43% shooting, not enough against Dream's 28 and 10, 4.5 dimes, 2.5 steals, 4.5 blocks on 50%. Stockton outscored by Kenny Smith in the series. While in 95, the team won 60 games, the 3 seed, the second best record in the West. Phoenix won 59 but won the Pacific Division, leaving Malone with a tough first round matchup against the defending champs. Karl balled out and held his own, averaged 30 points, 13 rebounds, but dreamed too much, 35 for the series, over 57% shooting. Drexler better than Stockton in the series. Mailman's 35 points, not enough for Game 5, despite being up 7 heading to the 4th. Dreamy and Clyde's 33 and 31 points. Stockton just 12 points on 4 of 14 shooting. By 96, Stockton, already 33 years old, a little past his prime. Gary Payton, Tim Hardaway, Penny Hardaway, the better point guards by then. But Malone's 26 and 10 averages held up was better than Barkley at the time, who was declining a little. A 55-win season, knocked off Portland and San Antonio before battling a tough 7-game series with the 64-win Sonics. Malone's 27, 12, and 5 got the best of Kemp, but Stockton got locked up by Gary Payton. Held to averaging under 10 points, 40% shooting. Malone came up short, just 22 in Game 7, 8 of 22 shooting, 6 of 12 from the line. Developed a reputation for being a subpar playoff performer compared to his regular season dominance. Karl didn't always always deliver in big games. Missed 2 free throws in the final few seconds of Game 7, down 3, didn't narrow the deficit. Although Stockton appeared to be the perfect backcourt mate, his duel with Malone was far from perfect, since he's not an elite scorer and never averaged over 17.2 points in any season, oftentimes deferred and needed to score more, just passed it up and wasn't that aggressive when the team needed a bucket, while Malone, a master at the pick and roll, good post moves, didn't have the handles like a LeBron or a KD, and nowhere near the ISO game of MJ. Malone also wasn't viewed as a go-to closer. His regular season success and numbers year after year after year, arguably one of the best regular season players all time, not counting playoffs. Malone shot at least 49% every regular season until 2001, but only shot above that mark for playoffs with Utah, while Karl shot nearly 52% during his 18 seasons in Utah, but 46% during 18 postseason years with the franchise. After the 96 season, Malone was just viewed as a guy with an amazing regular season resume, turning 33 and no finals appearance. With prime Peyton in Seattle ticking over, Shaq signed with the Lakers, the next dominant player after MJ. While Minnesota had young Garnett, the future, the Jazz shocked everybody. However, viewed as an afterthought, Malone balled out, averaged 27.5 points, 10 rebounds, 4.5 dimes, 55% shooting from the field in 97. Stockton, 14 and 10 dimes. Hornacek, the second scoring option, averaged 14.5 points. Defensive, tough-minded, at the peak of his chemistry. The Jazz won a franchise best 64 games. As Jordan's Bulls won 69, he was pretty much the runaway MVP until SI writer Jackie MacLeod flirted with the idea Malone's also deserving given his spectacular season. Then more people were drawn to the Mailman, who eventually stole the award from MJ. MJ's dominance was expected, the biggest MVP robbery of all time. Even Karl will admit Jordan was more deserving of the award, having won 5 more games. 97 felt like it could be the year for Malone to change his perception, get over the hump, average 31 and 11 first round versus the Clippers. Malone also outplayed 25-year-old Shaq in the semis against Houston's big three of Dream, Clyde, and Barkley in the conference finals. With the help of John Stockton, who played well the best ball of his career, Malone averaged 23.5 points, just 45% shooting, below his standards. Stockton over 20 points and 10 dimes, shot 54%, would have been the series MVP. Dream's 27 and 9 not enough, with the walk-off game winner by Stock clinching a trip to the finals in the biggest stage against the lockdown defense of MJ's Bulls. The infamous free throw miss when Pippen whispered in his ears, "The Mailman don't deliver on Sundays." Malone had a chance to give Utah the lead, but failed to capitalize. Jordan ended the game with a walk-off game winner just like that. Malone found himself down 2-0, but had a strong 37-point, 10-rebound Game 3 MVP level performance. Game 4 super defensive. Karl scored 23 big points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, outscored MJ in back-to-back games, but the GOAT wasn't gonna lose 3 straight. The famous so-called flu game, Jordan poured in 38, Malone struggled with 19, just 7 of 17 from the field. His guys Russell, Hornacek, 17 and 18 apiece for Game 6, but 21 points for Karl on 7 of 15 from the line, an absolute travesty. Came up short against MJ's 39-point clincher. Karl's numbers simply a drop-off from the regular season, while Jordan upped his level of play like always. Malone turned 34 after losing his first finals. Stockton 35 turned 36 before the 98 playoffs, who missed the first 18 games of the season due to an MCL injury. Malone once again carried the Jazz on his shoulder, dominated the regular season, averaged 27 points, over 10 boards, 4 dimes, 53% from the field, his usual numbers. Hornacek second option at 14. Malone's Jazz won 62 games, tied with the Bulls, a first round series win over the Rockets. By that time, Hakeem fell off and Malone's still a top 5 player in the game. Karl also got the best of 22-year-old rookie Tim Duncan, beat the 56-win Spurs in 5 games, swept Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, put up 30 and 10, O'Neal 32 and 9, not enough. Malone in the biggest stage, a chance to redeem himself, showing vulnerability against MJ yet again. Despite putting up 25 a game, Hornacek averaged under 11, Stockton under 10, and MJ 33.5 points. Jordan simply outplayed Malone the first 4 games of the series. With the Bulls up 3-1, Malone did step up and even won Game 5 on the road in Chicago with a 39.9 rebound effort on 17 of 27 from the field. The one game he played better than MJ that series. While Pippen had a mess up back, Malone kept Game 6 competitive with 31, 11, and 7, only for MJ to pick his pocket and drain the game-winning shot the following possession, closing out his Bulls legacy with a 45-point masterpiece. All Malone could do was give the GOAT his respect. If MJ was even a year older, the Jazz might have had a chance, but couldn't execute as well in the clutch, devastating moments because the team was so predictable and didn't fully have another guy who can create their own shot. These Jazz teams became one of the best to never win a title. Malone, 35 and almost 36 by the 99 season, won his second MVP award despite putting up his worst number since year 2, the safest bet of the candidates and most established. By that time, guys like Shaq and Tim Duncan were already better. Even in the 2000 season, Malone at 36 still averaged 25.5 points, even more than LeBron at 36, 9.5 boards, 4 assists on 51% shooting. Brian Russell, the second option, scoring 14 a game. Stockton 37, Hornacek 36. By that time, Duncan, KG, and Chris Webber were all arguably better. Malone dropped to second team All-NBA after making 11 straight first teams from 89 to 99, came in 4th in the MVP race, averaged 30.6 points in the first round, 59% shooting over Peyton Sonics, but no match for the bigger, more loaded Trailblazers with Rasheed and Sabonis, Pippen and Brian Grant just too big. Malone held to 24 a game, 44% shooting, no secondary grade score, fell in 5 games. Malone continued to remain with the franchise at 37 years old. Unlike all the other greats, by this age, most players already retired. Malone never really suddenly declined. It was a slow process because he had a strong body, conditioned himself, had a good jumper, able to remain durable. At age 37, still put up 23 and 8. Additions of Donyell Marshall and old John Starks didn't help in the first round battle with 26-year-old Steve Nash of the Mavs and 22-year-old Nowitzki. Malone the better averages, had a 2-0 lead but lost 3 straight. Malone a chance to win it at the buzzer in Game 5, jumper off the mark. Utah just hanging in the balance at that point. If Malone demanded out earlier, he would have been a key starter for a contender. The following 2 seasons, back-to-back first-round exits to Sacramento, Malone averaged in the low 20s. His field goal percentage dropped to the mid-40s. Even at 39 years old, Malone still averaged above 20 points a game. While Stockton's longevity officially held up, retired after the 03 season at 41 years old, the end of the Stockton-Malone Jazz era. With one last shot in trying to chase for a title, signed as a free agent with the Lakers, but had a forgettable final season. Played just 42 games, suffered a knee injury against Phoenix in the regular season. A role player at 40 years old, still averaged 13 and 9. 1 year too late, Malone never fully recovered. Before the injury, Karl played a possible 1,459 or 1,470 career games at a 99.3% clip, an incredible accomplishment, something we might never see again. Karl looked great in the Houston first round series, even had a 30-point Game 4, but his performance drastically fell against San Antonio and Minnesota. The following 2 series, became a shell of himself against the Pistons, literally didn't have anything left, averaged 5 and 7, played just 21 minutes in Game 4, 2 points, missed Game 5 dealing with injury. LA needed more offense in the worst way imaginable. Detroit shocked them in 5. That was the unfortunate end of Karl Malone's 19-year NBA career. The 14-time All-Star retired as the second all-time leading scorer, made 14 All-NBA teams, 11 first teams, number 1 at the time of his retirement before LeBron surpassed that mark, 4 defensive teams, 3 of those first, 2 All-Star Game MVPs, and a 2-time MVP, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, scored 2,000 plus points, a record 12 seasons, including 11 in a row, still averaged 25 and 10 for his career. The Mailman delivered on the nightly basis, played tough, extremely physical. His NBA legacy solidified in the 2010 Hall of Fame, scoring most of his basket on 2s. Malone made just 85 3-pointers for his career. His total numbers absolutely insane, but Malone also didn't have many dominant single game performances. Believe it or not, the Mailman scored 50 plus only 4 times in the regular season and just once during the playoffs, which is why Donovan Mitchell already has the most 45-point playoff games in Jazz franchise history. Just like the Duncans and Garnetts of the world, Malone will barely have a 40-point game, but always consistent in the mid to high 20s. You know what you're getting every single night for a good 15-year span. Malone also remains top 10 in total rebounds, number 1 in free throws made and attempts, will always be remembered as one of the greatest players and arguably the greatest to never win a championship. If he were to win a ring, would have been mentioned in the top 10 conversation, right up there with Oscar and Hakeem. Not counting playoffs, Malone is arguably a top 10 regular season player all time. Just looking at all those years, those consistent numbers, but his postseason disappointments, however, likely outside of the top 20 as a playoff performer. With that said, I still rank Karl Malone as the second greatest power forward all time, although it's debatable between him versus Garnett or him versus Nowitzki and the Barkleys of the world. His longevity separates him amongst the others. You can argue those three have better primes in a short time, but Malone just consistent year in and year out, basically dominated for a full decade and a half. Thank you so much for watching this video. Where do you guys rank Karl Malone all time? Is he the second greatest power forward? Is he a top 3 player in the 90s? A top 5 player for his decade? He's obviously the greatest Utah Jazz of all time. There's no arguments about that. Personally, I have Malone in my top 20 greatest player all time. He's somewhere between 15 and 20. That's all I'll tell you. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you love NBA basketball, subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.